Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by COOP Ale Works. Today is a very, very special podcast because the Thunder is in the midst of its very first inaugural Thunder Legacy Network weekend, which means former Thunder players have been able to come to OKC for the first time and just get together for reunions and a lot of other things. And we've got one of those legacy players with us right now, Cole Aldrich, who was with the Thunder for 2 seasons from 2010 to 2012, I believe.
Yep.
And this is incredible because you have a lot of former teammates that you've been able to see for the first time in a while, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been fun. I see Nick Collison, probably once a year, every other year, just because our careers didn't go together at Kansas, but we see each other back at school, or even when I was here for his jersey retirement. But seeing those other guys that I either played with or I played against, it's been great so far.
What did you think of the moment? So last night, we're recording this on Saturday. Last night, Friday night against Detroit, you all go up on this stage and you get honored in the middle of the game, and there's like big ovation. And I noticed that the current Thunder players were kind of looking up and like clapping and cheering as well, kind of like taking it all in too. That these are the guys you all helped set some foundations for this team. What was that moment like for you to be honored that way?
It was fun. This year's team is young and they're kind of figuring their way, and a bunch of old guys now that kind of I am old. It's fun to kind of just see those guys and go to a game and and probably be able to interact with them a little bit over this weekend, and just kind of enjoy it, because it's great to be back. It's great to see the fans last night, and that's what makes this place so great.
It's been 10 years since you played with the Thunder. Coming back to OKC itself, just how different has it been? Like, how different does it look as just coming to the city?
The city's grown so much. Kind of some spaces in downtown have really thrived. The big hotel now.
Right.
Yeah, the Omni.
It's like, wow, this is crazy. And I was here 3 years ago for Nick's jersey retirement, and that wasn't even there then. It's great. The city they love their basketball and they love their OU football, and they're just continuing to grow. And I love the city. They took me in early on when I was 20, 21 years old, and I love coming back and seeing all the people here.
What are some of your memories? You come in to the Thunder organization 2 of like the most incredible years to go to the Western Conference Finals, your first year, the NBA Finals, your second year. Your head must be spinning to some degree coming from college. Like, what are some of your big memories or takeaways from that time?
There's so much happiness, and then there's also a little bit of sadness because my first year we lost to Dallas in the conference finals, who Dallas ended up winning that year.
Yeah.
And they were phenomenal. Dirk was unbelievable that whole playoffs. And then we had the lockout year my second year, which was super abnormal because the season started late. It was 66 games, so it was kind of like really getting into the game and playing, and it's a short season. And we were easily the best team in the league at that time.
Yeah.
So making it to the finals was unreal because, not many people get that opportunity to go to the finals. And then we ended up losing, which was, the heartache of it. And, but seeing the fans at the airport when we got back, you remember,
I'll
you're
never
kind
forget.
of like, we just lost in the finals. And it was almost like we won in the finals.
It's a sea of people at Will Rogers Airport. Thousands of people waiting.
10, 15,000 people, I bet you.
Yeah.
And it was nuts. And it was kind of one of those things where you're like, wow, we're creating something bigger than what just this moment is. And you see it over the years and how the organization has just been so family oriented, and it's been wonderful to be a part of.
I was going to ask you mentioned the on the court, kind of the biggest memories. What about off the court? You mentioned how this community is just, took you in as such a young guy. What are some of the things that stick out to you in your memory during your time here?
Oh, man. This is kind of odd, but I remember Nick and I were talking, and Nick and I were roommates. Nick lived with me during the first month or two of the season of the lockout.
Oh, wow.
He lived at your place?
He was at my place. He
Come on, Nick, what are you doing? You didn't have your own spot? You had a room with the second year guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Second year guy. It was funny. His lease, he couldn't get into the place that he wanted to, so he essentially bullied me into staying at my place.
This is my place now, actually.
I'm not a rookie anymore, Nick. Come on, man.
He basically just took his bags and went to a guest room and was like, "Here I am."
That's amazing. That's
awesome.
It was so much fun, and you know how Nick is, and he was a wonderful teacher and helped me so much through my career, and those things that were invaluable at a young age to kind of experience and go through, because you get into the league and there's so many things that are thrown at you. Yeah. You need somebody to kind of keep you in a narrow path of it's basketball.
Right.
Sure, there are other things, but it's basketball and you want to succeed at it.
Right. I just think about, back then the NBA culture was a little bit different too. And you guys would have 2-hour practices and going hard. And what are some of those memories when you all were so young, 22, 23 years old, and just it was all about how can we be one step better tomorrow than we were today?
It's hard to think about and kind of grasp how good we were. I mean, we had 3 MVPs on that team.
Yeah.
With KD, Russ, and James. And then you had Serge, Jeff Green, Perk came a little later.
Yeah.
I mean, you have all these pieces that were so good. And to be that good when you're 22, 23 years old is so rare.
Yeah.
That everybody was so hungry. Everybody kind of kept each other at bay and competed, but also not got too far out of, making it personal.
Yeah.
And, Scotty Brooks did a great job of just, being a young coach at that time, knowing, it was kind of his first few years in the league and figuring it out too. And I mean, we just had so much fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of great memories.
There's so many great memories that have been built up, and the Thunder has been just so much a part of the public's NBA fans consciousness, but not even 15 years into the organization being here. And you look at guys like Nick, guys like Eric Maynor, Nazim Muhammad, who are on your teams, they've now come back and worked for the organization. What do you think that says? And what have you maybe gotten from them about just being able to come back and still, work here at this place that they played?
I think the value that, Sam and Clay and everybody else in the organization puts on, the family close-knit group of everything is huge, because, I've been a part of, I think, 6 other organizations, and the Thunder are easily beats everybody out of the water and everything that they do. And it's super refreshing, because, I've been in organizations that maybe aren't as great on the family side of bringing people in and doing things like that. But here, I mean, it's no question. It's every time. It's almost weird if you don't bring your family and your family's around. It's, everybody knows each other, and you walk in and, hey, Coach Mack, and Dean's sitting at
outside
the locker room,
and
it's those little things that just make it more of a community and a family.
I mean, that is so amazing that after all these years, Cole remembers the ushers' names of the people that are as you walk into the building. I mean, and that's the whole point of this Legacy Network weekend is always having a basketball home, and it's just so great to hear that OKC is your basketball home, you know?
I mean, this is where I started my professional career. I thought I might be back once or twice throughout my career, and it never worked out.
Sure.
But, every time we came back in town when I was on another team, it was always such a warm welcome. And, it was jokes and fun times, and it was always good to see familiar faces.
What was that reunion like when you just walked in and you saw, in the suite last night, just seeing the amount of guys that you used to play with all in one room together?
It was great. I mean, when I showed up to the hotel, I got in a little late yesterday, and we were taking kind of, I'll say, a team picture. And just seeing people like Nenad came from Europe.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge thing. Brings his family halfway across the world to come back, and it speaks volume.
Yeah. Well, this has been incredible getting to know you a little bit more as well, but also just hearing just how much the Thunder organization as a whole means to you. I think that just speaks volumes, and that's what this weekend is all about.
Definitely.
It's really cool to hear.
So great to reconnect, man. This is awesome. This is what this whole weekend's all about. So appreciate you, man.
You know, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to watching the KU game tonight.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And just kind of reconnecting with some of the guys, even if I didn't play with them, you know, we still all know each other.
Yeah. You're part of the Thunder Brotherhood. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, we will not keep you any longer from this awesome weekend. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, Cole.
We'll take a short break right here, and we'll be right back.
COOP Ale Works is the proud sponsor of Thunder Basketball Universe. Brewers of the fan favorites F5 IPA and 99-calorie Ice Chest IPA. You'll find those and many more COOP beers at retailers across Oklahoma. Learn more at coopaleworks.com.
We are back with another very special guest, the one and only Andre Roberson, who we are so lucky to have joining us right now because you were right off the road. So we appreciate you joining and being a part of us right now. First of all, how excited are you just to be a part of this weekend as a whole?
Man, honestly, I was very excited, first and foremost. I was like, man, this is the first time Ayanna, Anthony Morrow, Nick, all of them kind of reached out and kind of let me know in advance they were doing this. I think when you guys played down there in San Antonio against the Spurs. So I was like, yeah, man, I'd be able to jump in. But I was like, I'll be there. Just let me know the dates, time. And fortunately, we made it happen. So I'm so excited to be here and good to see everybody, man.
You know, there's sort of already this Thunder legacy alumni connection because there's so many guys that used to play for the team that you played alongside that are working for the team. You know, you think Nick Collison and Nazim Muhammad and, you know, there's Eric Maynor and Mike Wilkes. Like, why do you think there's been such a pull? And then you see there's a whole group of guys that got honored last night at the game. Why do you think there's such a pull with guys coming back to the organization?
I mean, it's just a testament to the culture we've created here, you know, starting with Sam all the way down, or Mr. Bennett all the way down, Sam preaching it every day and instilling it in us. And it's just sticking to our word of like, you know, this is family. You know, we preach it in the locker room, but this is like taking the next step. And I think that's pretty dope. So it's only going to continue. I mean, you see it a little bit places, but, you know, like Duke, they bring guys back in. It's only like the special places. And Oklahoma City is definitely a big-time special place.
You talk about the people setting the standards and the foundations, but like Dre, you're one of those people that has done that in a huge, huge way. I mean, Sam talks about leaving your handprints. Like your handprints are all over this place. How does that make you feel as you look back at the work that you put in here and the things that you did for this organization?
For sure, man. I mean, it's just almost like a dream come true. You know what I mean? It's like at the same time, it all happens so fast. I'm still young, but at the same time, the basketball years is like, oh, you're a vet now. Like, you know what I mean? And it's only getting younger, but it's just a testament to all the hard work and the great guys I had and the coaches I had and the organization leading us from the start. So it's just everybody putting their handprint in and everybody coming together and kind of figuring this thing out. So, you know, we all put it in chip by chip, and I was just happy to be a part of it, blessed and honored. So.
Obviously played a big part in the foundation of this Thunder organization and where the team is now. I'm curious just what your time in OKC has meant to you. And I know that's probably a hard question because you spent so much time here, but just, you know, being a young guy coming into the league and what it meant to you to be a part of such an organization.
I mean, man, it meant everything to me, man. Just from the start, like getting drafted, them believing in me from the jump and just kind of sticking with me the whole way. I think this is a moment in time I will never forget, and I always hold near and dear to my heart. So, you know, it's big time for me and special for a lot of guys that I share that bond with. You know, I mean, a lot of many faces, whether it's players, coaches, staff. Like, we hold a special bond, and it's a moment in time that I'll never forget.
Any favorite on-court memories? Like, there's some that are just burned in my brain, like Steven throwing that baseball pass to you in the Western Conference Finals against Golden State, and like just the roar of the crowd after that, or like, you know, some of your like chase down blocks that just, it was a 1-on-0 fast break, and then somehow Andre Roberson is there blocking that shot. You know, are there any on-court moments that really stick out to you that are your favorite?
I mean, there's a lot of on-court moments. I think the most special thing that I've kind of, you know, can memorize is like the run that we put together, just kind of like, just the camaraderie that we had. We all bought into, we're doing this together. And like the regular season was different, but when we got to the playoffs, it's like a whole nother level. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody chipping in, everybody doing their part, everybody sacrificing in every way they can. So I think just that moment in time, like, is very special. I can't even call it. There's so many plays that you can go out and pick a highlight, but I feel like that's the most special, like, on-court memories, just like the chemistry that we had.
And a lot of
players
that,
to coaches, just to everybody at the building, just like everybody buying in, knowing it's a special moment in time. So I think that was it for me.
Those on-court moments, the genesis of those were what happened on the practice floor in this building here. Mm-hmm. Your reputation from very early on was like, you're a crazy practicer. Yeah. Like, you practice your butt off, and we're like all over the floor. Like, what do you remember about coming into the organization and just being like hair on fire, and like there's all these veterans around and they're like, hold on, man, like what's going on, Dre?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it all comes from, the vets that we had and Russell and Kevin. Yeah. I mean, we see guys like that coming in and busting their ass. Oh, excuse my language. Every day. It makes you want to go out there and do it. So, I mean, like, from day one, those guys were my brothers. You know what I mean? So, I mean, who wouldn't want to? You don't want to let your brother down. So, no doubt. Kind of go out there, practice hard every day, and kind of perfect your craft. So. That's what I try to do. But, you know what I mean? It took a progression because, you come in from college, it's a whole new level. Yeah. And then coming into a great organization and trying to, like, fit in, and they're already at a high level, it's like, damn, like, I got some work to do. So got a little plan to catch up.
One just follow-up. I mean, you talked about that coming in from college, and at Colorado, you were, like, the country's leading rebounder and, played a bigger position than you ended up playing in the pros. And one thing that Sam always talks about is like seeing people for what they can be, not necessarily what they are right now. And I think you're just this prime example of like the vision of like, this guy is going to be a defensive ace on the perimeter one day in the NBA. Did you even really know that was like, when you were in college, was that your vision for yourself, or was that something that like got tapped into here when you
no, 100%. I mean, one of my idols growing up was Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of like one of the things I loved about him, just like how he goes out there and like attacks on the defense end. You know what I mean? And just kind of like setting the tone early and kind of getting it going. So I was like, dang, when I first came and I got drafted, I was like, dang, how can I fit into this team?
Yeah.
We got two prolific scorers already. First ballot Hall of Famers, like, scoring titles. I'm like, bro, scoring is not, you know what I mean? Like, we're good in that aspect. We got Serge. It's like, bro, how can I fit in? And one of the things Sam kind of told me from the jump was like, I'm going to need you to come in here and bring the energy, go in there, be my junkyard dog. And now that I kind of embrace that role and try to master as best I can. So the tone was set early.
You certainly did that. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, too, you talked a lot about on the floor, but a big part about being part of the Thunder is, the community that you're a part of. Are there any memories that stick out during your time with the Thunder about what was happening off the floor and just like, things that were happening, not necessarily when you were wearing the jersey?
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. So. I mean, my favorite moments were just kind of like doing the community events, whether it's down to little kids, going to elementaries or the school bus, or even like the homeland shopping sprees. So I'm like, those are kind of like the moments for me, is like, getting to touch people and kind of see where they're coming from and kind of just hearing their side of the story, and it just kind of like a telltale story of like what our community is like. So it kind of got me, in the mode of like, this is us, protect your home and protect your community. So I was like, man, you got to embrace it.
Yeah, the fan base here for sure embraced you, and you made your roots in OKC, but you also made roots like with your teammates, with friends. And I can't believe we haven't brought up Steven Adams yet, but like, this is the guy that you came into the league with. The game takes you all over the world. It took you to New Zealand to go visit him and see his family. I mean, just how special were some of those off-the-court bonding things that you were able to participate in with some teammates?
Like you said, basketball takes you places beyond you imagine. You know what I mean? It's like coming in with Steve from the jump, like we clicked right off the bat, like draft night, even flying here from New York and then kind of doing our meetings. I was like, bro, this is my guy. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like him being a guy I kind of like went through every step of the way with. It was like it kind of solidified our friendship in a sense. And then getting to travel to New Zealand, get to see his family and kind of embrace it, or get to see his culture as well and see how they embrace like outsiders. And I wouldn't say outsiders because once you're there, you like become family. You
Immediately.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, but I was like, man, like it's kind of cool to see different parts of the world and kind of like how, like the world is outside of America. You know what I mean? It's like I never really thought that as a kid. Basketball's special, man.
Yeah.
And being a part of this organization, I'm sure, played a big part in
Oh,
all of that,
100%.
too. And it's really cool to see all of these guys come back. And, Krstić came all the way from Serbia to be a part of all of this.
Yeah.
Just what does that say about this organization, that there's that kind of pull? I mean, you drove here.
You're driving 7 hours.
5 a.m. to come here.
I mean, it says a lot, man. Like I said, all the way from the top to the bottom, like, everybody in this building is special. Everybody in this organization is special, and everybody in this community is special. So, no, we don't just preach that; we stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's a testament to people flying, people driving up just to be a part of this. I think it says all it needs to say.
All right, Dre. Thanks a ton, man.
Yeah.
This has been awesome
Sure.
to
Thank you, guys.
catch up and reconnect with you, man.
For sure.
Yeah, we really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
your
me.
time.
Yes.
Appreciate you. And we'll let you
Thank
get to the weekend now.
Festivities.
There you go.
All right,
We'll take a
enjoy.
quick
Appreciate
break. What a fun weekend it is turning out to be so far. So many former Thunder players currently at the Thunder Ion participating in a really fun family kind of springtime event. We've seen families, we've seen kiddos. It's been such a lighthearted and fun atmosphere.
For sure. And it's been a great weekend where the guys have not just been honored at Paycom Center in front of the whole crowd, but there's been all sorts of other activations. They were able to come in and get physical screenings. They were able to do a community event down at the arena to give back to some kids here in Oklahoma City. They're going to watch the Final Four together. So that'll be really exciting. And then, all get together before they take off to end the weekend. But I just think this has been so cool to see some guys that were part of like that very first generation of the Thunder. And then like Andre, who's sort of in that middle stage generation, and then now we've got this next generation of OKC guys that have been on the floor last night against Detroit, and then coming up 2 more home games to end out this long homestand.
And Nick, yesterday during the game, you got a chance to talk to Nenad Krstić, who was part of that very early Thunder group, and you got a chance to talk to him in the middle of the game.
Yes, so right at the end of the first quarter, the guys were all honored up on that Post Oak party terrace there inside Paycom Center. I watched that and I bolted to the back to go up the elevator up to the club level to go meet with the guys and do an interview for our Bally Sports Oklahoma broadcast with Nenad Krstić, who brought his family all the way in from Serbia, where he's living these days. That's where he's originally from. They came all the way just to be able to come to this weekend here in Oklahoma City. That's incredible. And he told me what he really wanted was to show his daughter where she was born and help her reconnect with sort of this part of her childhood and her roots. So that was really, really special to see.
It goes to show that when guys are a part of this team, they're not just here to wear the jersey. They're building lives here. They're obviously, in Nenad's case, he was starting a family here. And so for the Thunder, they recognize that, and now they're reinvesting back into these guys. And for Nenad to come from across the Atlantic to be a part of it speaks volumes.
So cool. And he was just one of those guys that, again, helped set some of the foundations for that young Thunder team as it was rising through the ranks in those first few years. Another guy that I saw when I was up in that suite inside Paycom Center was Daquan Cook. And he was the first guy that I saw when I opened up the suite door. And, it had been a long time. That was my first year with the Thunder when he was his last year with the Thunder. So I wasn't quite sure whether he was going to remember me. Massive high five and hug as soon as I walked in. He was like, yo, what's going on? How are you, man? And it reminded me of the actual very first time that I met Daquan Cook, which was just an all-time moment for me. So I was 23 years old.
Nick Gallo.
walked into the Thunder locker room, and I'd worked in professional sports for a little bit before, but only about 18 months, and so or 2 years or so. But I walked into the locker room, and I'm kind of getting introduced to a few people, and just complete deadpan. I walk over to Russell Westbrook and Daquan Cook, and Daquan introduces himself as Russell Westbrook, very confidently, very firmly, and it was clear that he and Russ were kind of like, they saw the new guy and were going to try to like mess with me a little bit. And so fortunately my instincts kicked in, and I was like, I kind of gave him the little like side eye look and was like, come on, man. Don't
What are you
don't
talking
be
about?
like don't be like don't what are you talking about? Don't be like that.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a really great icebreaker for us and my future relationship with Russell too, that, you know, they weren't able to quite get me the way that they thought they were able to get me. So anyway, that was a fond memory for me, and I'll never forget Daquan Cook for that, in addition to what probably most Thunder fans really remember, which was one of the best 4-minute spurts any Thunder role player has ever had. He went off for 8 points in 3-for-3 shooting in 4 minutes in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals against the San Antonio Spurs in 2012. Helped OKC come back from a 2-0 deficit in that series. Won 4 straight games after that to go to the NBA Finals.
That is one of the coolest parts about this weekend is all of the memories that just come flooding back, and I start to hear about. Obviously, I'm relatively new to this team, and so hearing all of this has been so cool just to uncover and learn more and more about the history of the Thunder in Oklahoma City, and hearing, you know, stories like that, guys like Daquan Cook, and and, you know, the impact that they have in big time moments that, you know, it don't necessarily make the highlight reel.
Right. And I mean, it goes to show what we've been talking about with Cole and with Andre. These guys are leaving their handprints, and it doesn't matter necessarily how many games, how many seasons that they play, what role, whether they're a superstar or a role player or a reserve that, you know, is coming in kind of pinch hitting for these minutes. They all have an opportunity to make a huge impact on the Thunder. Daquan Cook, one of those guys that he came in and he threw his fastball when he got the opportunity.
He sure did. So that was on Friday when Nick Gallo got a chance to talk to Nenad Kristic. That's when the legacy players were all honored in game. That was a really, really cool moment. Part of one of actually the final homestand for the Thunder this season. And for you guys watching, for all the Thunder fans at home, you've got 2 more chances to see the Thunder in action at home this season. Thunder plays the Phoenix Suns tomorrow on Sunday, then wraps things up with the Portland Trail Blazers on Tuesday. That's actually going to be the front end of a home road back-to-back, and then the team will finish out the season on the road, starting in Utah and closing things out in LA.
Yeah, should be a great stretch to end this season. A lot of games packed in to a short period of time, but that's what we love. We love Thunder basketball, so we couldn't ask for anything better here coming down the stretch.
Sprinting through the finish line. That's what
right.
we're doing, Gallo.
That's right.
All right, well, that is all for today's podcast. We want to thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to tune in on YouTube as well. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop, and to our special guests who joined us on the podcast today. And until next time, Thunder up, and catch you later.